Story 1. This is called money laundering. You set up a business that accepts cash, and you report that the business is making more money than it actually does, allowing you to funnel the money through the business. Large illegal operations typically have multiple money laundering fronts to avoid suspicion. Story 2. You don't. Just keep it dry and enjoy your endless supply of grocery money. Go out to eat, buy regular items like shoes and jeans whenever you want. Get extra guacamole and cheese dip. Story 3. Do not deposit it. Spend it wherever you can on household goods. Buy items in stores with cash like in the past. Story 4. In America, any cash transaction over $10,000 is automatically flagged, and a report is sent to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. The issue is that they receive so many reports every day that they do not review 99% of them. The law originated in the 1970s when $10,000 was a significantly larger amount, and they have never updated the threshold. However, if you try to circumvent that report by conducting only $9,000 in transactions over a day or a week, that is flagged as structuring, which is also reported to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and those reports are much more likely to be investigated. This seems unusual. Story 5. Make sure the genie provides me with a receipt. Take a picture of the genie, the cash, and him handing it to me. Capture a video of him explaining that it is a magical gift. Deposit the money into a regular bank and pay taxes on it. Perhaps I could become famous because of the whole magical genie experience. Story 6. Speaking from experience, I would suggest trying farming. You can pay cash for various inputs and continue doing so until you face financial difficulties again. Story 7. If you have illegal money, keep it under your mattress and spend it gradually to avoid raising suspicions. If you obtain the money legally, you will have no problem justifying its origin and depositing it in a bank. Story 8. By opening a nail salon run by Vietnamese women and a laser tag store in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Make sure you have a very good lawyer with expertise in criminal law. Story 9. Drive to Florida and charter a private plane or boat to take you to the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. Form a business and deposit the money in the business account. Obtain an international credit card linked to the account. Take a cruise ship back to Florida, as it is more economical than a chartered plane. Story 10. I wouldn't. Sure, I will miss out on investment opportunities and earned interest, but nobody questions if you have a few $100s in cash on you at all times. Story 11. If I magically obtained millions of dollars in cash, I would not deposit any of it. I would take a week off, buy a heavy safe, rent a jackhammer, embed the safe in the foundation of my house, and pay for everything in cash for the rest of my life, using my work income to pay my bills while saving the rest for retirement. I would retire in less than 10 years after all my debts are paid off and enjoy an easy life. Story 12. Purchase distressed houses from tax sales or near tax sales. Pay cash and conduct no inspections. Hire contractors for renovations without official contracts. Oversee the projects yourself. File taxes and claim that your renovation costs were significantly lower than what you actually paid. If these properties are in marginal or developing neighborhoods, records of the condition of the house may be limited or non-existent. In essence, you acquire a nearly worthless house, renovate it with cash, and claim that it was in much better condition at the time of purchase, while stating that the renovation costs were low. Sell the houses. Your money is now laundered. Repeat this process to legally avoid capital gains tax. This is one of the most common methods of money laundering. Don't view your $1 million as a sum to save. See it as a resource to utilize. If done gradually and with care over the years, this process becomes nearly undetectable. Eventually, you'll possess legitimate money with no substantial paper trail for the laundering, likely resulting in more than your initial millions. Story 13. Buy lemonade at the stands. Cash only. Consume the lemonade entirely. Return and take back your money. Unlimited lemonade hack. Story 14. Former bank employee. Banks have systems in place to identify suspicious activity involving large sums of cash. They are required by law to file a report with the government when individuals deposit or withdraw a significant amount. Depositing just under the limit of $10,000 on multiple consecutive days will trigger a report. Story 15. A prominent politician assaulted me as a child. This is confidentiality payment. I would prefer not to discuss it, thank you. Story 16. Just deposit it and list it on your Form 1040. Schedule 1 as other income. It is perfectly legal. The Internal Revenue Service does not care how you acquired it, as long as you pay taxes on it. Some people may ask, but won't the police think you did something illegal to get that money? No, the police will not have an opinion on it at all. If you have millions of dollars in untraceable funds, you are subject to different rules, and the police typically do not get involved in that. Yes, the police may seize $10,000 in cash from you while walking down the street, but they will not even make eye contact with you and your $20 million in a bank account. Those laws were written for the benefit of white-collar criminals. At worst, the Drug Enforcement Administration may suspect you of being a drug kingpin, but since you acquired the money in a questionable manner, they will not be able to prove anything. While Drug Enforcement Administration agents are willing to manufacture evidence against a street dealer, they will not do so against a white-collar multimillionaire. Story 17. This is a simple question with a simple answer. Just deposit it and pay the appropriate taxes on it. That's all. No need to launder it or do anything questionable. It's the same as if you found a suitcase full of cash in your attic. Story 18. To reinforce the truth, report it as other income on your taxes. Pay taxes on it. Deposit it in the bank. The Internal Revenue Service is unlikely to investigate a taxpayer. Story 19. Take it to a bank. But give them a heads up so they can ensure you go to a location with the right safe and money counting machines. Some smaller branches, like the drive-thru I worked at, don't have a safe that can easily store $1 million. The one-way slot is set up to accept envelopes, and it would be a hassle to stuff 100 envelopes in there. People think there is a rule about having too much cash. I used to be a bank teller, and many businesses make these large transactions, or did before contactless payment became common. Places like bars or festivals can easily accumulate large amounts of cash, which is totally expected. Once you reach a certain scale, however, you end up hiring your own cash transporters for safety who don't typically interact with the front desk at the bank. Frankly, banks do not care if an individual does it either. If you want to show up with a suitcase full of cash, go for it. They will fill out a currency transaction report and move on with their day. Of course, the Internal Revenue Service might have some questions, but as long as you can prove that you declared the income, they do not care either. If you did not declare it as income, then yes, walking into the bank with a suitcase of money will be an issue. Story 20. I would hide it in my house and gradually add it to my daily spending. I would pay down my debts quicker than usual and use cash for my groceries and daily expenses, while still using my credit card, but not as frequently. I would occasionally buy some gold and let it accumulate over time. It is essential to spread it out so that nobody notices. Story 21. Why would I inadvertently admit to having that much untraceable, untaxed money? I would buy a bigger safe and store it away securely. Story 22. I would just deposit it in the bank and explain how I obtained it. I just received $1 million. I'm not going to prison for tax evasion right when things are getting good. If you acquired it unlawfully, assert your right to remain silent regarding the source. Story 23. Pay cash for some vending machines. As your business grows, invest the profits in a car wash and laundromat. Then, continue to reinvest. Story 24. Buy expensive old games from game stores and sell them on eBay, claiming I own them before they spiked in price. Story 25. I would probably hide it and spend it as cash in small amounts. The government does not need to know, and I do not have grand ideas of mansions or luxury cars, so that would help me a lot. Story 26. I wouldn't deposit it, but I would use it for things like groceries and gas, though not all the time. Occasionally, I might spend a little on a hobby or home and car repairs. I might even buy a few smaller items like a new television, sound system, or video games. I might consider depositing $100 to $150 a month to avoid raising any flags with the Internal Revenue Service, even if they inquire about odd jobs. This amount would be too little to be considered income. Story 27. Honest question. You know how the Internal Revenue Service allows you to pay taxes on illegal funds? Could you just claim it as illegal money, pay taxes, and then not have to worry about anything because you are not really involved in drugs? Story 28. Deposit it and then pay the taxes. If I received it and it is all real, then there is no evidence that I have committed any crime. If I have paid the taxes, then the Internal Revenue Service will not care. They received their share. Story 29. How does it appear? Does it just magically show up as legitimate $100 bills in a briefcase? If that is the case, just go to a bank and deposit the money. Inform the Internal Revenue Service where you found it, pay your taxes, and move on. Story 30. I would just deposit it. If the authorities have questions, I will tell them what I know and let them figure it out. Story 31. Nothing illegal about obtaining millions. I would report it as income, pay my taxes on it, and move on. Story 32. I run a small business, and things are really starting to pick up. I expect to double my average sales over the summer and triple them leading up to Christmas. My customers are primarily individuals over 45 who prefer to use cash. Story 33. Isn't there a way to go to the police and say, I found this duffel bag full of cash in the bushes in the park. I'm turning it in. Then, after a certain amount of time, you can keep it if nobody comes forward to claim it? Story 34. Put the money in a bank account in a tax haven where the origin of the funds is not scrutinized. Then, I would establish a business in my own country to launder it. Story 35. Count it all twice and create a record of the amount. Take pictures, go to the police department, and report that you found it. After a month, or however long it takes, if nobody comes to claim it, invest it and live off the interest. Establish a paper trail proving it's yours, and there will be no suspicion. Story 36. I would deposit $5,000 every week until it was done. My bank was never suspicious about me receiving $5,000 out of nowhere. They believed it was from my job. Story 37. I would consider laundering money overseas, possibly converting it to another form like gold. I would also think about purchasing something illegal for trade and then demanding Bitcoin for the exchange. Additionally, you could buy a cash-heavy business and slowly launder it if you have time. Story 38. Start by putting the money in a safe deposit box at a reputable bank. Then create a cash-based business, such as a laundromat. You are not actually opening a laundromat, just establishing a business with a post office box address. Accept several smaller deposits in the first few weeks, then gradually grow your business. Open a second laundromat and make all your business purchases in cash. Hire business consultants and repairmen. Start new companies and open multiple business accounts. Form corporations that can conduct business together. Establish relationships between these businesses and conduct transactions to manage the funds, while continuing to make cash deposits from the laundromat. Pay your legitimate taxes on your reported income. It is the law. Story 39. Very slowly over the course of months, I guess. I would probably find it easier to share it with my family and close friends to make it more manageable. Story 40. Why would I want to pay tax on it? I would just quietly spend it. Most places and services accept cash. My house needs a lot of work. The first thing I would get would be rain gutters. Story 41. I was at the bank one day when a man was trying to deposit money. The bank representative said they needed to know where the money came from. He got upset and they went back and forth. He finally said to give it back and he would take it to his other bank. It looked as though he had a business and was pulling equipment on a trailer. He told them he would return to withdraw his money and close his account. I had never seen or heard of banks asking where the money came from. This was probably 5 years ago. Story 42. Why would I deposit it? Maybe some of it would go into a safe deposit box, but I would just use it to make small improvements over the next 20 years. I don't think I would need to launder it at all. I would just pay cash for everything, but I wouldn't buy beyond my means either. Story 43. In Australia, you can walk up to any New South Wales poker machine, insert cash, and then request a cash refund at the counter without playing the game. You might also consider visiting a casino for more variety. Story 44. Gambling. But in reality, it purchases as much as you can with cash physically. So fuel and groceries, Costco and Walmart, etc. Buy secondhand goods from people. I had a friend who said someone bought a car from him for $14,000. He had to work with the bank over numerous days to deposit this and needed all the documentation from the sale to prove it wasn't suspicious. Story 45. Approach a struggling business owner and propose giving him 20 cents on the dollar to help clean my money. I am now a partner in a legitimate business and have a method to deposit clean cash into my account. Story 46. In Australia, you can go to the gaming rooms and launder money that way. Convert dirty money into slot machines and receive clean money in return. It's that simple. Story 47. Keep the cash. I would never deposit it. I would use it for groceries and any time I want to eat out. I would treat my friends, buy their gifts in cash, or simply give them cash, go out, and enjoy local experiences that still accept cash. Imagine how great it would be to always have cash to give someone. Homeless individuals, friends, family, or just anyone. Save half of it for savings or an emergency cash fund at home, then redistribute the other half and live lavishly. Story 48. Do not deposit cash in a bank if you do not need to. Instead, visit several banks and rent safety deposit boxes for your cash. Make it a habit to visit these banks regularly to withdraw money. Having a safe at home poses a risk, but storing your cash in a deposit box allows the bank to safeguard it for you. Distribute your funds across multiple banks so that if something happens to one, you have others available. This approach also prevents any potential robbers from questioning your frequent visits to the bank. While the concept of money laundering may seem appealing, it is unnecessary in this scenario. The money was earned legally, perhaps as if someone simply gifted you $2 million. If you attempt to launder the money, you will incur taxes and face challenges, such as hiring employees and managing a business. It would involve complicated accounting practices which could lead to legal trouble. Story 49. Deposit small amounts every week, and if asked, say I had a garage sale. I would also pay for everything I could in cash so my account balance slowly increases. It would take a while, but I would have nothing but time. Story 50. Just use it to pay for groceries and save as much of your regular income as possible. Story 51. Take it to a casino and inform them that I want to gamble with it. Put $1,000 into a slot machine, then have them cash me out with a check. Take the check to a bank. Story 52. $1,000 a week every Friday, or you can buy and sell used cars and inflate the sales slip. Yes, Mr. IRS, I just sold a 1983 Yugo to a collector from out of state for $250,000, and he wanted 4 of them. I have the receipts right here. Story 53. First, set up a few different bank accounts. Then travel to local casinos, withdraw a few $100s from an ATM, keep the receipt, gamble a little, and deposit a small amount of the money in one of the accounts the next day. If any government investigated your activities, they would see a pattern of gambling at night followed by a few hundred to maybe a couple $1,000s deposited the next day. This amount would not raise concerns for the casinos regarding legal records, but you could explain it by saying, I was testing out an idea I had for making money through gambling, and no, I won't share it with you. The multiple bank accounts would allow you to deposit faster without raising any suspicions. Story 54. I wouldn't keep it as cash. I would potentially spend it on assets that I could liquidate later. The real problem is spending it without drawing suspicion. What I would do is obtain a loan to open a business, even if I didn't need the money, because then I have a way to justify an increase in income. I can pay off that loan and purchase small items as long as it appears that the business is turning a profit. I would start taking trips to Las Vegas and gamble a little, or I could just visit without gambling. But now you can associate an increase in money with success in gambling. You still have to report your gambling winnings on your taxes, but at least now you have a legitimate way to justify an increase in cash through your business and your gambling wins. Additionally, you could buy art. That's how a lot of people do it. The only real answer here, though, is to continue living your normal lifestyle. Take out regular loans that you would typically take out and enjoy the fact that you know you have enough cash to pay them off at any time. For example, if you don't own a house but are looking to secure a mortgage, take out that mortgage with your regular paycheck. Within your means, and then live your life happily knowing that you always have enough money to pay off that mortgage. The secret is to use the money to prevent bankruptcy, not to enhance your lifestyle. Story 55. You buy your everyday items in cash, such as groceries, gas, dining out, and gambling. Gradually deposit cash every few days or weeks into different bank accounts, varying the amounts each time and avoiding consistency. Story 56. I wouldn't. I would just pay for everything in cash, including purchasing money orders. I would ensure to travel around a bit so no one became suspicious. Paying cash for gas would be straightforward, so driving 100 to 200 miles to buy some money orders would not be a problem. Although I don't live extravagantly, it would take a long time to use up $1 million, but every cent of my paycheck would go into savings. Story 57. If the goal is secrecy from the authorities, it is harder to achieve than it sounds. You cannot simply deposit the money due to reporting requirements. You cannot avoid the $10,000 reporting limits because that is known as structuring, and authorities actively look for it. Without major changes to your life, the easiest approach is to discreetly start paying cash for more things, such as dinners out, contractors, or purchases at retail stores. You really cannot spend large amounts of cash. That will draw attention. You certainly cannot buy a car, boat, or house with cash without attracting significant scrutiny. Without starting a business or relying on people you would rather not associate with, money laundering is not easy. You could consider starting a mostly cash business, but these can become money pits, and you might end up losing money in the end. It might be feasible to start selling items on an online marketplace. You purchase items with cash and then sell them online. Your prices would need to be competitive. You might lose 20% on each sale, but the remaining 80% could be reported for taxes and considered clean. You would want to avoid transitioning from nothing to being a large online seller too quickly, as that would also attract attention. In summary, money laundering is challenging. Selling items purchased with cash, even at a loss, online may be the simplest way to clean your money. Story 58. I would just deposit it. It was a private transaction as far as anyone is concerned. I will pay the taxes next spring and be done. The Internal Revenue Service does not care where I got it from. I just need to pay the taxes, and I'm good to go. Then I can live as I want, with no hiding and no surprises. Story 59. Invest in cryptocurrency and then withdraw the funds. Even if the value decreases significantly, I still have a substantial amount of money. I can generate additional income by becoming a cryptocurrency influencer and pretending that I made all that money solely through investing. Other cryptocurrency enthusiasts will not challenge me because convincing others that they can get rich with cryptocurrency benefits everyone in the community. Story 60. This plan from an Austrian woman who has won the birth lottery seems to be a very good idea to me. She is essentially giving away 25 million euros and assembling a panel of 50 randomly selected citizens to decide how it will be done. Story 61. I would buy an affordable house in a bad neighborhood, begin remodeling it, and claim I found millions in cash hidden in the walls. I would then declare my unexpected income and pay taxes on it. My guess is there is less concern about where the money came from unless you are under a criminal investigation, and more focus on whether you pay taxes on it. Story 62. You buy a plane ticket, preferably for a trip with only a few passengers. Then, take all your money on the plane. Pay off the pilots to grant you access to the cargo area, where you then jump out of the plane, leaving little to no trace for decades. Once your antics become legendary, hire several people to help you create a film about a successful banker whose fiancé seduces his best friend for no apparent reason. Story 63. Consider taking out a loan to purchase a nail salon or a storage unit complex. These are cash-heavy ventures. Conduct business as usual, but allocate a reasonable portion of your income from your investment into your business. Do this over several years based on what is reasonable for your type of business. On paper, you will have a very profitable business, and once you have moved your funds through your business, list it for sale. You will be selling a business with strong financials, allowing you to profit more from the sale. Story 64. Pay the taxes and enjoy my $500,000 however I want. I can buy a house and not worry about going to prison. Story 65. Spend cash to create a business on paper that could generate $100,000 a year or more on the books for laundering purposes. Then establish a second paper business to launder another $100,000 annually. Eventually, all funds will flow through these businesses, allowing you to sell any equipment purchased to support them and distance yourself from the activities. Story 66. I still have tens of millions in Little Cottonwood Canyon on a USB from selling illegal substances on the dark web. It is much easier to launder money in other countries. Story 67. The question is vague, but if it's enough money to live like a wealthy person and it's truly magical like a genie wish, then why not declare it as income from found cash? Pay taxes on it. Even if it looks suspicious and you're put on some kind of list, you didn't actually commit a crime, so the chances of it being a problem for you are low if you don't already have legal issues. You can't be put in jail simply because you can't provide a reason that people will believe for the money you pay taxes on. You can be put in jail for not paying taxes on money you can explain. Story 68. If you choose to deposit, you need to report it and pay taxes. The Internal Revenue Service does not care where the money came from, only that any new income gets taxed. Keep a safe hidden in your basement with cash and spend it slowly. If you are renting, it is more challenging to keep it safe, but you should either pay taxes on it and deposit it or keep it in cash and spend it gradually. Story 69. Use your income to invest in a cash business. Introduce the cash into the profits and pay the taxes. Declare a portion as inheritance and pay the taxes. Declare a portion as earnings from a side job and pay the taxes. Use funds from existing income streams to finance a casino trip. Speak with the owners, play, and accept that you may win some and lose some. Take your winnings and pay the taxes. Purchase art, and when its value increases, sell it. Introduce the cash from the sale and pay the taxes on the profit. Take a trip to the Turks and Caicos and speak to Jerry. Story 70. Buy items I would use or wear. Get a spot at a local swap meet to sell the items. Print many receipts to record sales. Pay my taxes and no one will care. Story 71. Get an LLC, then pay myself. Start off with $1,000 and work up to $5,000 every week. Keep it in a safe and invest a lot. Pay cash for things. Story 72. Visit several gold shops. Purchase silver, gold, and precious coins, ensuring they are all of face value. Take them home with a torch, melt them down, and now you have gold that you obtain tax-free. Story 73. Just deposit the cash. Avoiding the cash transaction report by breaking it into multiple deposits of less than $10,000 is a crime, even if the cash is legal. Story 74. I would likely use the new cash to buy various vending machines, such as those for soda and candy, and fill them with inventory. Eventually, they would be full of cash, and you can deposit the earned money into your business account. This process can be repeated weekly. Story 75. I would go to the casino and place $10,000 on red or black. If I won, I would have $20,000 to spend. If not, I would try again. Story 76. You can also deposit it slowly over time. Most banks do not have reporting requirements for amounts under $9,500, and you could withdraw that amount gradually. Story 77. Only gets reported when you transact over $10,000. Most people will open a fictitious business and significantly inflate income, then deposit that money as revenue. Cash businesses like party stores, laundromats, and car washes would probably work. Story 78. I just wouldn't deposit it. I would try to pay for as many things in cash as possible and avoid large purchases or spending in short periods. I am assuming you are avoiding depositing in order to circumvent the Internal Revenue Service. In that case, don't quit your job or let it change you in any way. Outside of that, do what others have suggested and just manage your finances carefully. Good luck. Story 79. Open an art gallery, create modern art, sell it to anonymous cash buyers, burn the paintings, and deposit the cash. Story 80. Money laundering is relatively straightforward. First, you can gradually deposit cash into a savings account. The key is to insert just enough cash every month or two to avoid raising any flags until you have enough to purchase a business license and start a business, preferably one with a high profit margin, such as construction. Then you can begin generating invoices for fictitious projects. For example, I charge an imaginary client $10,000 to build a large deck with various enhancements. This client, who does not exist, pays me $10,000, allowing me to deposit that amount without the bank raising any concerns. I just need to have a legitimate business to take advantage of this scheme. Story 81. Why would I deposit it? I would just start paying cash for more things. I would only deposit it if I needed to do a bank transfer or something similar. Story 82. To be honest, I think it's less trouble to find a way to declare it as taxable income, pay the tax on it, and be done with it, rather than hiding large sums of money from the government. Story 83. I came up with a low-effort side hustle, like selling random items at a swap meet. A couple of $1,000s here, a couple of thousand there, once a week. Wow, this is going better than I thought, I declared, and it was all taxed and clean, just low-grade, inconspicuous money laundering. You need to be really patient, though. Drag it out for years. When you're grocery shopping or at the mall, don't carry more than a few $100s on you. Do not tell anyone about your windfall because that invites trouble. Buy a large safe and secure it to a concrete foundation, or keep some, not all, of it in a storage locker buried under a lot of random items. Story 84. People are making this too complicated. Money laundering costs money. I am not a lawyer, so do not take this as advice, but to the best of my knowledge, magic is not illegal. It is just frowned upon by some religious movements. I would hire a good tax attorney to verify this, but I would probably deposit the money and report it as magical income. I imagine my new tax attorney would pay for lunch. They would wear a suit while I would dress casually. Story 85. Buy a pressure washer and then deposit a few $1,000s a week while paying income tax on it. Use cash for everything that is normal to use cash for. Once my pressure washing business is big enough, I will get a loan to start a strip club. Then I will obtain loans to buy a few laundromats and car washes. After a while, I will have enough cash flow on paper that it won't matter anymore. Story 86. I wouldn't deposit it. I would pay for gas, groceries, and other in-person purchases with cash to spend less from my bank account. This way, the legitimate income accumulates faster while the suspicious cash provides some support a few days a week for several years. Story 87. It's called owning a cash-taking laundromat. You see many of them around with no customers but still in business. Have you noticed millionaire laundromat owners? You've just discovered how drug money gets laundered. Story 88. Declare it as cryptocurrency gains. Pay the tax. Deposit it. Done. There are no laws against acquiring large sums of money. There is a requirement to pay capital gains tax. So do that and live wealthy. Story 89. This reminds me of an old man in Pennsylvania who was involved in a massive fraud scheme and was obviously not paying taxes on it. He got away with it until 2 Internal Revenue Service agents flew over his sprawling mansion on a commercial flight. They became curious about who owned the property, looked him up, noticed that his reported income did not align with the scale of the house, and initiated an investigation. Story 90. Why would you put it in a bank where you can be taxed or have to report that income? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.